Hey, welcome to the Artist Mindset Reset. My name is Ben Henry. I've been an artist for over 20 years, so I've gone through all the ups and downs that came along with this. Times where I wasn't doing so well, times where I was thriving, and I've kind of figured out like, when are these peaks and valleys, and how can we kind of plateau this out a little bit more so we're not like "Wah, wah, wah," with our sales, with our mindset, with our style. I've got 20 years as an artist, 15 years in art education, and that's where I've really kind of moved my purpose in my life is into my art education. Got 4 years just doing this, coaching and calls and courses and things like that. Um, so, like with this artist mindset reset, I really want to kind of get into like the idea that artists are dealing with a lot more, I think, kind of like thoughts about themselves and what other people are thinking about them than like any other type of career. I don't think there's an accountant sitting there like, I've got accountant block. Oh man, I don't know if I can do this today. Um, I what's my accounting style? Like they don't think those kinds of things. They just go in, they just do their accounting, they do the math. It's very black and white. Artists, it's not so simply black and white. We face a lot of fear of judgment. We face a lot of fear of rejection. We get artist block. We get stuck. We compare ourselves to others. We lose motivation. We gain motivation. Like I said, there's those peaks and valleys. And a lot of times that ends with when somebody kind of gets down into a valley, that ends with them just exiting wanting to do art ever again. So that's why I created this. I love the idea um, that we as visual artists can communicate, we can express, we can make art, we can make things that are entertaining, that are funny, that are sad, that are dark, that are political. We have a voice, and I don't want you to lose that. And I want you to understand maybe more how you can use it more and how you can keep that motivating you. So we're going to reset how we think as an artist. There's a workbook. It's going to be linked. If you're on my school page watching this, it'll be linked in the module at the bottom. If you're on YouTube, I'll find somewhere to put it in there, as well as a link to my school page. So if you're on YouTube, you can go to the school community. You can join. It's a free community. We talk about stuff like this. And you can find my courses in there as well. So, as an artist, sometimes we're thinking like, what do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? What's not working? How come this worked and that didn't? Or I don't want to do this anymore. Or why am I stuck? How can I thrive? I've got too much artist block. I'm comparing myself to other artists and I'm losing motivation. So there's a lot that goes in along in like the artist's mind. And I wanted us to kind of like bulletproof that a little bit more with this training, with this workshop. So we're going to jump into some slides. We're going to look at the workbook. This workbook is yours. You're not sharing it with anybody. It's your document. So be as honest as you possibly can. And a lot of the questions in here are things that maybe you've never asked yourself. I've gone through this on one-on-ones with students before, taking my courses, and I've done like a Zoom call and I say, hey, let's just go through these. And I've had people who've been doing art for 10 years and they're like, whoa, I've never asked myself this question. I've never thought about this. And all of a sudden kind of everything, light bulb goes off, everything changes. So hopefully you have those moments doing this. Like I said, I love sharing what I teach. And what I teach is really two things. My main thing is art style. I think it's the most important thing that artists can figure out for themselves. Because it ends a lot of the art block, it ends a lot of the comparison, the self-doubt, all that stuff just kind of goes out when you're like, no, this is my voice, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm all in on it. And the other thing I like to teach is stuff like this, like how do I overcome some of this stuff, like this mental stuff that artists kind of go through. So yeah, we'll go through some slides, we'll go through the workbook. Let's jump into this. All right, cool. All right, welcome to the Emerging Artist Playbook, Mindset Matters. We're talking about ending artist block, staying motivated, overcoming self-doubt, fears, rejection, those kinds of things. There's a workbook that goes along with this. So if you're watching this on school, it's going to be linked there in the module. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I will find somewhere to link the workbook to, or you can just come join the school community. So a couple things, right? Society has been sending us mixed signals ever since we were little kids. When was the first time you heard the term starving artist or artist block probably sometime in elementary school, you probably started hearing these things. These are like negative beliefs associated to creatives, especially visual artists. That it's a struggle, that it's a hobby. Versus there are a lot of positive beliefs too about being an artist, right? That we have creative genius, that we're passionate, that we hustle, that we're outside the box, that we can change people's beliefs and perceptions with our images. So, these things are either consciously on your mind or subconsciously buried in you, but you have your own beliefs that I want you to write down about what it is means to be an artist. So that's going to be at the beginning of the workbook. So fill out what are some of your own beliefs about being an artist. Okay, we don't have to just go along with what society has said over the years. Okay, one of the biggest things that an artist has to overcome mentally is the idea of artist block. But hey, good news. I don't believe artist block is real, that it's just a symptom of something else. So we have to find the reason of your lack of ideas. And here are my top 5 causes of art block. 1, you don't have a defined style or artistic voice. You lack a defined goal. You've been procrastinating or you're distracted. You're over emulating another artist, thinking what would they do. Or you're on the verge of a creative moment, but that fear of failing or judgment is bigger than you. And so a lot of times we say these things as, oh, I got artist, but I don't know what to do. I got artist block. Or, yeah. So we're going to go through each one of these, and as follow along in the workbook, we're gonna go through these 5 top causes of artist block and how these are affecting the mental state of being an artist. All right. So we have artist block, and then I have what we call artist flow. So we got to unblock those things to get into flow. And my number 1 thing that we talked about was your style and voice, right? Number 1, you don't have a defined style or voice. So a lot of times just answering some questions, I call them my art statements. Answering these questions can get you into that idea of artist flow. And there's been times where I've worked with artists for 10 minutes for one-on-one sessions for, like a 30-minute, 45-minute session. And these artists have been artists for 10 years. And I'm like, hey, what does your art communicate? And how are you doing that? And they're just like blank. What? I've never thought about that. And I'm like, you've been making art for 10 years and you never thought about who your art is designed for? Like who are you trying to connect with? Like overall themes? So answer these questions in your workbook. I think these are super important. Be honest. No one's going to see your workbook. It's not a live document that I'm looking at. It's yours. Answer them honestly. So go through, answer those my art statements. If you're more interested, I think art style is probably the biggest eliminator of self-doubt or artist block. And it's also the biggest indicator of how successful you're going to be, because it really dictates your portfolio, which dictates where you can make your money as an artist. So having your art style is huge topic. I got a huge course designed for this specifically. It's designed for individual results. It's not a cookie cutter like for every artist to get the same result. It's your journey into uncovering your art style. So if you're in the school community, it's there in the classrooms tab. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link to my school community where you can check that out as well. Anyway, so another thing besides figuring out your art style, or at least doing some my art statements, is your goals. And so I'll have you guys write and do this in the workbook. You have 2 short-term goals and 2 long-term goals. Your short-term goals could be based on tools, techniques, materials. It could be a professional thing like I want to get my first commission or this next 2 weeks. And they're shorter terms of time, and they're usually smaller goals, right? Like maybe you want to learn how to work more with mixed medias and plaster because you have an idea for your art. Okay, that's something you can figure out in a couple of weeks of how you can incorporate mixed media plaster into your work. Or you want to work on marketing strategy, you want to work on sales or getting better at realism or whatever it is. Okay, short-term goals, 2 of those. That really is going to unblock you. That's going to get you into flow when you know what you're trying to accomplish within the next couple of pieces, right? Or maybe you're kind of stuck in art making, but you're like, okay, I'm going to move into some like marketing stuff. I want to figure out a little bit more, like where can I start looking to find a booth that I can rent or a gallery that would be interested in my work. Anyway, stuff you can get done quickly. Two long-term goals. These are like, think big, okay? Just think like, if there was no way of me failing, what would I do? I would have a solo exhibition in London. All right, I would be an animator for Pixar. Write down two big goals. This really can help get your I always call it your North Star, like where am I aiming for? I can always look at my North Star and I won't get lost. I know where I'm going to keep going towards. So goals really help establish like where your art is going. That can help your style, that can help you get unblocked, that can help you keep you motivated. And we got those shorter steps and those kind of bigger goals as well. But write them down, make them real. All right. We got to make a schedule and have the discipline to follow it. Build creative habits. So a lot of being an artist with having a good mindset is eliminating some bad habits and creating some good habits. And creating a schedule and building in lots of creativity times for yourself is a really good habit. So you got to figure out when are you most productive, and you can do this. It's on the workbook. Follow along. You can pause me and do that, or you can do it at the end of the video. When are you most productive? Are you a night owl creative? Are you a morning time creative? Are you whatever? Out in nature creative? Get out there. Protect that time is what I'm trying to say. I mean, if you get, 2 days off a week that you can get in an 8-hour studio day, that's great. Find a way. So your goal here on your schedule is to schedule, and you can do this on your phone app or if you have a scheduling app, whatever. Your goal is to get to at least 25 hours built into that schedule, so that way creativity becomes a habit. Even if you're like, hey, I've got an hour lunch and I'm going to eat in 15 minutes and 45 minutes is going to be me working on my art. Bring your sketchbook with you wherever you go, or your tablet, or however you create or get into your process. Limit distractions, stop procrastination. This is very important. I think a lot of us get sucked into a black hole of, Netflix or Instagram or TikTok, YouTube. So set a timer. You need to give yourself time limits on that kind of stuff that distracts you from what you're doing. I recently got rid of 2 games. One of them was Clash of Clans. I'd been playing it for years. And I also was on a game called Township where me and my family would kind of, be on this app together. I just deleted them from my phone about a month ago. And boy, I talk about getting rid of a distraction. I mean, I think if I was logging in 3 or 4 times a day for like 10 minutes, that adds up over a month. You're talking about like hours and hours of time. So limit your distractions. Find something that you can delete off your phone that you get kind of hooked on. So once again, it's kind of getting rid of bad habits. Setting a timer. Next time you go into TikTok, set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes. And when that timer goes off, have the discipline to like get off that app, Or just say, yeah, I watch movies Saturday from 5 to 8 on Netflix. That's it. I think brain dumps help me get unblocked. I think those things really help me get like away from procrastination. So this is essentially writing for 5 to 10 minutes before I go to bed. It can be sketching, drawing, writing, journaling, bullet points, thoughts, whatever. And this will just kind of help you visualize your activities, what you need to do, the next day, the next 2 days, the next week, and keep your subconscious brain working while you sleep. So I like to do that before I sleep. It helps keep me motivated. And when I wake up, I'm already kind of in that frame of mind of, oh yeah, like I got this thing I wanted to do. We got to stop over emulating another artist, thinking what they do. So that's taking on a lazy mindset. So if you're copying other artists, or you just go to Pinterest to find your inspiration, you're removing your voice. You're getting stuck in someone else's creative process. You're not being intuitive. in my courses, I talk a lot about what we intuitively do as an artist and like really tapping into that. So if we're too much copying somebody, we're not using our own intuition as a creative. We're following, we're not being a leader, which is terrible for your confidence because you're not coming up with your own stuff. Like, yeah, you might be able to emulate an artist and your works look very successful and very polished. But you deep down, you kind of know you're an imposter. So, and then also just you're not developing your own style if you're just copying another artist, which is a big thing. You're putting yourself behind discovering your own voice, your own style. Also, that also leads to comparison, which is a dark place when you're comparing yourself to another artist or a group of other artists. That can become a dark place for an artist to go into. So don't over emulate. Okay, don't copy. And I get it. Artists steal from one another. It's been going on for centuries and centuries, whether it's music, writing, visual arts. Take inspiration, take influence from others. Don't just copy them, though, okay? So, to end over emulating, if that's a place where you find yourself, it means to trust your artistic intuition. So, that is your natural way that you make, edit, build, the way you create art, your process. So when you build your own creative process, your own style and your voice, when you trust your own artistic intuition. And that's huge because then you kind of eliminate a lot of other things like self-doubt, motivation, copying. And then you become more confident. Your decision making muscle grows. So the more decisions you make, the better you get at making decisions for yourself instead of relying on Pinterest or other artists. You're like, I'm going to do this and I want it to look like this and I'm going to do it like that. Right? Uh, Unless you just rely on other artists to inform what you do next and you're breaking that habit of copying. So use your own artist intuition. So, and in my courses, I talk about being a detective. So let's slide back here. Whoop. So trusting your artistic intuition. So look at a few pieces and just kind of see what's already like. Look at it like a detective. Maybe like you've never even seen your work before. And you're not looking for what I like or what I don't like or you or yes, but you're just sort of looking at, oh yeah, I always do this kind of thing, or I notice this appearing in my work frequently. So that's just your intuition as an artist. Trust it. How to borrow, then go your own way. So this is say you're a sculptor and you sculpt horses, right? You're going to find three artists who you admire that work with your subject. So we're just saying horses for an example, but not your material. So they're not sculpting. You might look at a watercolor artist. You might look at a photographer or some other type of art form, but not your techniques and materials. You're looking kind of outside of that. And sometimes you start to find those things. List what you like about their art. Like, oh, I really like how this watercolor artist uses a lot more movement or higher contrast. And maybe I can pull that into my sculpture somehow. And then find three artists you admire who work with your materials but not your subject. So once again, if you're a horse sculptor and say you build with clay and then you cast in bronze, whatever, or you're working with found materials, whatever it is, find those three artists who you admire who work with your materials but not your subject. They are working with other things, right? So maybe they're making old vintage cars out of found objects, or they're making functional household items or something. So list what you like about their work. That's a good way to just borrow and not be over influenced. Something all artists have to face is the idea of rejection. I talked about this in the little intro. Was we've chosen a path that has a lot of resistance. It has a lot of rejection. It has a lot of judgment. And if that's holding you back from creating and being yourself, that is not a good thing. So just realize every artist has been rejected. Van Gogh, rejected, never sold a piece. Da Vinci, he sent out so many letters to people about he could create inventions for them. Rejected, right? Some of his inventions didn't even work. He would spend, you know, days, weeks, months planning out an invention, building it, engineering it, and guess what? Didn't even work. He's just kept going. So having a mindset that accepts rejection as part of the process, that is very important. So it's going to be on the next slide. I was going to say you have homework, but once again, follow along in the workbook and do it, please. But think about this. For every artist that accepts rejection and learns from it and moves forward, there's an artist that just quit. So the more you push through it, the more you separate yourself from people who can't deal with it, and you're still in it. You haven't given up. And then each time you move past that rejection or judgment or fear, it just gets easier. And I have a ton of stories. I don't want to make this presentation too long, but believe me, I've been through it, with proposals for public art, with positions at advertising agencies, with freelance positions, teaching positions, whatever. I've sent out so much stuff and just been told no so many times that I'm just like, okay, next. Here's your homework, is to put it out there. So put one of your pieces on social media or my school group, the Art Style School. If you're watching this on school, you're already there. And some of you guys have already done this, which is great. But put a piece out there, and in your title or in your copy, put, I want some constructive critique or some constructive feedback. Use those phrases. So you're not just getting like, it's so cool, you're so talented, wow. Because, if we're just always looking for recognition and positive things, that's something else psychological that's going on. You want to improve as an artist. You want to have growth. And just by getting, patted on the back and given thumbs up and hearts and likes doesn't really make you better at art. And put it in front of people who know about art, and then put it in front of people who don't. So yeah, go put it in the school group, or put it on, maybe use Instagram more for your business for art. And then maybe on Facebook or wherever you have a personal account where it's just your friends or colleagues. And just kind of see what the difference is that you get there. But the point here is to get to some comments that are not compliments, that are, hey, you need, it's too light. You need to add more contrast, or your background is too much negative space. You need to add something for variety in the background, right? We need to hear some stuff like this. Or sometimes I'll put this or that, like, which one do you like better? Option number one or option number two? The style I'm working on here or this style I'm working on here? Give me reasons why. Don't just put it up. Don't just put your art on social media for likes and like recognition. So do that. That's some of your homework. Write down what feedback you got. That's on the workbook. Also in the workbook, fill out this. This is a very important slide to really look at where your fear of failure or rejection or judgment is coming from, if you even have it at all. You might be like, I don't really care. I don't have any of that. Oh, my cat's coming in the room. If you hear some meowing in the background, that is my cat, Sammy. So let's understand where this is coming from, but also, what is it costing you? Is it costing you making sales? Is it costing you feeling confident? What opportunities are you missing out on? Why is it important to change this mindset? I can even remember recently there was a call for entries for some public art here in my city in Denver. And it was a $80,000 and like a $200,000. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if that's really for me. I've never made that much money with a piece before. I don't know. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what? Like, it's not costing me anything to submit my portfolio in an artist statement, other than you're going to get rejected most likely. And then what? And then what? You move on. Or what if your fear of the rejection is actually, oh, hey, I just got that gig, or they want me to do a proposal, whatever. Final thought. We need to fortify our mindsets, right? in those moments of doubts, frustration, fear, artist block, we need to go back to those questions we answered at the very beginning of the packet, right? What am I trying to say with my art? What am I really doing here? And why is it important to me? And what are my goals, right? And then so when you're having that, say your goal is to earn six-figure income. Well, by shying away from putting your art out there and submitting to shows and galleries and submitting proposals and trying to land your dream jobs, you won't get there. Like, what is that costing you? It's costing you. Only got one life to live, right? So you might as well just kind of go for it. When we when we have it meaning the solid mindset, it means that we can eliminate a lot of these distractions. We're able to gain momentum, and we gain confidence along the way, something that all artists are going to want. So, in this workbook, these are simple yet effective activities, writing prompts, and strategies that can give you insight into your purpose as a creative. They can also help you identify what is impeding you from reaching your